priority as a Children's and Families Minister is to make lifelong loving relationships the obsession of the care system. It isn't at the moment, and it should be. Too much of what we do with children's social care is about organising the system around our anxieties and risks as adults and professionals, and not those that ultimately affect children in care. So we are quite comfortable sometimes, worryingly comfortable, about sending children off to live in children's homes that make us as adults and professionals relax and feel okay that that child is contained and accounted for, without really any calculation of the risk and damage that might do to breaking relationships and leaving a young person entering adulthood at 18 without people in their life who are there to say, I've got you and I love you. And that is the completely wrong set of priorities and obsessions for the system, and that needs to change. That change is underway. I've got that obsession because I've listened to lots of people with your experiences who've told me that matters, and the review made a number of recommendations for how to shift the children's social care system, to how to reset it. That process is underway at the moment. It needs two things. It needs changes in law, and that's going through with the Child Wellbeing Bill, which is currently in its sort of final stages in Parliament, and will hopefully get royal assent and become a law in January. And then secondly, it needs money. And in the spending review, the government prioritised with very serious investment this change happening over the next 3 and probably 4 years. So there's a couple of aspects to that. One is making sure that family group decision making is a default for those families that are in crisis with a child protection concern, so that no child goes to through the family court system without having had that proper process of bringing the whole family, the whole clan around a table to figure out if they can come up with a better solution to looking after that child than the care system can. And secondly, family network support plans, which are to free up resource to back those family group conference plans if they're good, with money and resource and support, instead of needing to go into the care system to find it. And I want to see much more work done there to make greater use of those family network support plans. In the review, in the care review, we calculated that we could probably shift hundreds of millions of pounds out of the care system and into those family network plans, so that if a grandma who works night shifts and has got a lack of room in their house could get some support with those things, and the child could still see their mum, if it's safe to do so, with perhaps some family therapy and ongoing support, we actually spend, £10,000 or £20,000 a year for 18 years of childhood supporting that, as an alternative to spending £50,000 or £60,000 a year and potentially more in residential care by that child relying on the care system. Thirdly, we will be piloting kinship allowances, and we'll be doing this properly resourcing it in a number of parts of the country with some serious evaluation to demonstrate what we think will happen, which is that when you give those relatives the choice of taking parental responsibility and looking after their kin outside of the care system with financial support, that actually it's cheaper in a relatively short space of time than forcing relatives to fit the fostering system and all the mad, crazy stuff that goes alongside that. And then fourthly, changing how we support those in care and leaving care with building rather than breaking relationships. Lifelong links is a really important part of that. It's probably, I think, the best codified example of it, the best sort of structured example of it. There are local authorities at the moment that we're supporting to try slightly different models, and we'll see what the results of that are. But I am absolutely committed to this becoming the norm in the care system for every child, so that the system of PAs, the system of looked after children, teams, becomes this work, not this work being secondary or marginal to it. And there's a couple of just final things I want to say about where my attention is. thinking about these issues over the next year. If we want lifelong loving relationships to be the obsession of the children's social care system, we need to know and we need to make sure that the measure is there for whether or not, when a young person hits 18, there are, and I said this in the review, at least 2, but hopefully a lot more than 2, people in this young person's life who are there to say, I love you and I've got you. And that should be the main thing that everybody is asking about and figuring out about the care system. You know, we spent so much time talking about, you know, whether we've got the council tax exemptions in place, whether we've got some stuff to do with staying close right, whether we've got university support in place, whether we've got housing right. All of those things are really important, but they are second order issues compared to, does this young person have a group of people who can give them a sense of belonging and identity and self-worth? And we've got to make that the central focus. So how do we actually know that's the case? And I'm really committed to finding a way of building that into our care system in a very meaningful way. It won't be easy, but there are examples around the world of this set of measures being used, and I want to see that come into our system. The second is that I want, and this sounds sort of so alien to the current care system, but I want there to be choice for every child who comes into care over who they live with and where they live. Choice, not there's one available placement that we're rushing around to find you on a Friday night. And that means having lots of excess foster carers in the care system who may never have a young person live with them, and that's fine and okay. It might mean that a foster carer looks after just one child and only ever that one child, and if they go back to live at home, maybe the foster carer can help the family out and stay in touch with them and be a part of their wider group, their wider connection. But we can do that. We are only approving at the moment 1,300 foster carers a year. That is outrageous. It is outrageous that we are only getting that many foster carers a year. Foster care numbers are in decline, and last year there were an extra 14% of children, so there's an expansion of the residential care system by 14%. So we are at the moment running a system that is seeing more children every morning waking up in an institutional children's home setting. That is outrageous, and it's because we are failing to find the foster homes and the other sorts of care that can look after these children. And finally, everything else that we're doing about family help, more intensive support for families that are in crisis, support earlier, evidence-based interventions being used really robustly, a much sharper, more decisive approach to child protection, and a faster, more efficient, more decisive court system. All of those things taken together mean that we look at family first. We have more children, thousands more children living safely at home. We switch where the money is being spent in this system. We take back control of the care system so that we can push out private equity and sovereign wealth funds crowding in investment because they look at our care system that's broken and say that's the best place in the world for me to put my money to get a return, which should not be happening. And we put right at the heart of this system lifelong loving relationships as the obsession from beginning to end, and that's what we are all in the business of doing. I know most of the people in the room, and I know that's what we're all in the business of doing. It's not just down to government to do it alone. It's down to over 150 local authorities. It's down to lots of people who are involved in training and development for social workers, the third sector, people that are doing this brilliant work like Danny, and we know what we need to do. We've got the plan, we've got the money, we've got the laws. Let's get on and do it.